Hey guys, Dave from Wolfhard Hobbying here, and today we're going to continue looking at painting Deathwatch Space Marines. Now in this video I'm using the White Scar instead of the Raven Guard, as the Raven Guard's next part I want to paint is white, and I want to show you on a larger scale model on how I paint white instead of just in the small tiny details. So we've got this big area here with the White Scar icon on both sides of the wheel there. He's got little icons on the rest of him, on the rest of the bike, and his shoulder pad. So I wanted to show you on a larger part on how I do white, and then I'll just do it on the Raven Guard. Now when you are doing whites, I do suggest layer highlights and starting with a gray. You could come in with a Ministratum gray, but I find this to be a little too dark, and you'll have to do a lot more highlighting up to get yourself to a white. So I start with Celestra gray. I like this color because it's lighter than the Administratum gray, so when you are doing white, it's easier to layer highlight up with this color. So I have it thinned out. Now you could use any kind of thinning agent, water. I don't suggest using water again, just because it could pool up and you could get pigments moving around. So Lemaine medium is a really good agent to work with for thinning your paints. Me personally, I use Liquitex airbrush thinner. I find I get a smoother consistency out of that than the Lemaine medium. I find Lemaine medium still shows the brush strokes really well, and I want to stay away from that, whereas the airbrush thinner tends to give me a smoother finish. So here I'm just showing you that just doing a simple base coat, not too worried about getting this color on other parts of the model, as the front part of that wheel well is going to be painted up a different color anyways, and the rest of the wheel well I can just easily go over with my black again. So you'll want to make sure you get this color in all the nooks and crannies of what you're trying to paint white, as this is going to be kind of our shadow color. Because when you are painting with white, you can't, well, you can use a wash, but it will tint the white and it'll make it look a little awkward. If you're trying to go for a nice clean white look for, say, White Scars or whatever. But what you could do too is you could use the Celestra gray and then use the thinned out Nuln Oil to give you some more shadows and things like that, if you would like to do it that way. But I find with the Celestra gray, I wouldn't really use a Nuln Oil after that. If you wanted to go with the darker shadow route, I would probably start with Administratum gray and then go to the Celestra gray for your main base coat. But it's just straightforward, simple base coat here. With it being thinned, we are going to have to do multiple layers, but when we're working with thin paints, we want to do multiple layers because we can control how bright we make our layers, and as well as we get a nice smooth finish afterwards. And if we alternate our brush strokes, we'll make sure that no brush strokes are seen on the model. So here you can see I did about 3 coats on of Celestra gray on his shoulder pad, and I think I only did 2 on the wheel well, as his shoulder pad's the one that's really going to stand out more than these wheel wells. But I got nice coverage in those as well, and I did the little icon that's on the gas tank. So as you can see, it's starting to really brighten up in contrast to the rest of the model. So now we're going to come in with Ulan gray, and again we're going to work with it in a very thin consistency to give us control over where this is going and how bright we want to make it. So as you can see here, it's already pretty much white, and with the icon being 3D, we want to make sure that we keep some of the Celestra gray on the edges of that icon, just to give it a little bit more pop and shadow. If you're doing a zenithal style highlight, you would probably only leave the Celestia Gray in the bottom part of the icon over what I'm doing, where I'm leaving kind of an outline around it. So this is pretty straightforward layering. You just want to make sure that you keep some of that Celestia Gray in the recesses of the shoulder pad and along the icon on his shoulder. It'll just give it a lot more pop on the tabletop, with it being a 3D icon already, and with it kind of having that outline edging, and the other colors of the icon that will give contrast to the white will just really make that shoulder pad stand out. And same with the wheel wells as well. We want kind of them to show up a little bit more, because with there being a lot of black and muted colors on a Deathwatch Marine, you kind of want some of your colors to really pop out. So again, we're just going to look where we want the highlight to go, where we want our shadows to fall, and then we'll do the Ulan Gray where we want it to be the brightest. So here I'm going to leave the Celestia Gray in the bottom part of the icon, and those kind of spikes or ridges, whatever they happen to be. So there's not a lot of area in here that I'm going to hit with this color, as a lot of it's 3D and I want that shadow. So I would also suggest coming in with a detail brush to do this part. Don't do like I did with this kind of almost base coating brush, but I'm just going to do the same thing on the wheel well part that's facing the ground, and then we'll get to the final highlight. So here you can see the Ulan Gray pretty much makes it white already. So if you wanted kind of a muted white, not a vibrant white, you could just leave it at that and then skip this step completely. But again, I left some outline around the icon just to give it a little bit more depth on the tabletop. So the next color we're going to come in with is going to be a very simple straight white. I use Vallejo model color white, and again we're going to thin this out. Now for this part, we're only going to be focusing on the top of the shoulder pad. Now this is very, very thinned out white, and for the wheel wells, I do suggest again using a fine detail brush to do that work. But I'm using it very thin down. It's almost a glaze consistency, because I want to control the transition to the white so that it's not just a harsh transition. Now with the wheel well kind of facing the ground a little bit, I'm not even putting white in there, as I want that to look darker than his shoulder pad, as that's obviously not going to be catching a lot of light. So the other wheel well, we're just going to be catching some of the larger flat pieces instead, and working our way around that. So here it's so vibrant that my white balance is a little off, as you can see, because it's trying to correct it for a pure white. So as you can see here, as I'm kind of blocking some of the light to hit it, how that Celestia Gray and the Ulan Gray really work well together. And again, working with the white in a thin consistency, and being able to control how much of it we are putting on the model, and the transition works really well together. But that's pretty much about it, guys. That's how I do white. Again, if I was probably doing a full white scar model, I would start with a Ministratum Gray for all my deeper recesses, and then work up with these three highlights as well. But for small details and the Raven Guard symbols and things like that, that's pretty much all I do for the white. So that's it, guys. I want to thank you guys for watching the video. Maybe I'll continue working on this guy for some other colors. as the Raven Guard is pretty much done. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the like button. Let me know you like the videos. Share them if you want. There will be a link to my Patreon and Facebook account, so you can show support through Patreon if you'd like, and shoot me a message on Facebook. Leave your comments in the comment section below, guys, and have yourselves a great day.